Attention freelancers and agencies out there. You want to find new clients, get new bids on the table from companies around the world, around your area. We have the podcast for you. It's the PSP Insider. This latest episode, episode 3, Jason and I go through how to get local clients, how to grab and bring to the table people that you would never expect to be able to hook and propose your services to. We have a load of ideas to share. These are premium podcasts. We put a ton of time into thinking and brainstorming, and we're sharing everything we did to get our careers started and launched, and we share this for an exclusive audience. These are not free, and it's not free because we consider it a premium service to people who are interested in jumping off and getting a ton of momentum in their career with just a few easy ideas that we want to share. So take a look at it. paidsearchpodcast.com/insider. paidsearchpodcast.com/insider. Check it out. We think you're going to like it.
Hey everybody, yes, welcome back to the Paid Search Podcast. My name is Jason Rothman. As always, I'm joined by my cellmate, the great Chris Schaefer. Chris, you look beautiful today. I love what you're wearing. Happy Valentine's Day.
Yes.
We look like a couple guys who are bunked up in a prison in West Texas or something. We're both wearing white t-shirts, a lot of pale skin on those forearms. What's going on today, buddy? How you doing?
Yeah, it's Valentine's. I'm a very lucky guy because my wife said, let's just go for pizza and beer tonight, which is a wonderful change instead of dealing with just all the drama. And she said, just do one thing for me. Go have lunch with our daughter at school today, which was just she was so excited. She couldn't stop hugging me. It was just a lot of fun. So, it really lights up your day to do stuff like that. So that was... Usually Valentine's is, I'm the one giving diamonds, food, money, gifts. But for once I got a smiling, happy to see me all the time daughter. And that was a lot of fun. So anyway.
Oh, there you go. Wow. There you go. Wow. Okay. I hope 1% of the audience cares.
Yeah.
Because I don't care, Chris. I don't care.
It's all right. Tell us about your dogs,
This is evil
Jason.
business. I'm just kidding. No, I can't. How can I? I'm reacting because how can I top that? What could I possibly say now?
Your dogs
that matches a
tail.
father and daughter's love. So
yeah, that's true.
I'm not going to get involved with that. But I am going to mention Directive Consulting. We want to thank Directive Consulting for sponsoring today's episode. They offer search engine marketing, pay-per-click, SEO, landing pages for B2B and enterprise companies. They specialize in enterprise and B2B. And Chris and I know it's called pay-per-click, it's called SEO, but it's a big difference in terms of what kind of clients you're working with. And if you are a B2B or enterprise company looking for someone who specializes and works with clients at your level, we recommend Directive. Directive is the place to go so you can get a custom proposal made at directiveconsulting.com. We have a link in the description, and we thank them for sponsoring today's episode.
Yes, and I want to thank Optio, who is an amazing software for those of you out there pushing through, grinding through, getting things done on your own. This tool is amazing. One of the things that I really like is the ability to see stats at a graphical level for the last 30 days, the last 7 days, the last 14 days. Right. And you say, Chris, I can do that in AdWords, but no, you cannot see it for multiple graphs in multiple different ways. It's a visual representation of the data, which if anyone's been in AdWords all the time, it's numbers start to just fade. You just can't really see what you're looking at. Another side of it is it gives you alerts over email whenever these graphs show particular percentage changes that is out of the norm. So lots of ways to visually see the data, alerts along with it. I want to thank Optio for sponsoring us, and we want to recommend that you go give them a try. They are offering Paid Search podcast listeners an extended free trial, you can go to Opteo, opteo.com/PSP and get an extended free trial. Go check them out.
Thank you, Chris. And I also want to thank our listeners for coming through with the iTunes and Stitcher reviews. That is how we show the podcast players that we are one of the best marketing podcasts out there. When they see your reviews, they bump us up in the rankings and more people are able to learn about the show. Chris, I was looking at our rankings earlier. We are nearing the top 100 for business marketing and management podcast on iTunes.
Awesome.
And it would be amazing to see us in the top 100. So we thank you for those reviews. And we want to read today's review of the week from My Nickname Was Taken. 5 stars, best podcast ever. That's what I like to see. And these guys rock harder than Bowie. Listen to both their shows. Invaluable information. They are way too kind to be giving all of this away for free. You will learn a lot about Google Ads. Well, thank you, Mr. or Mrs. Nickname Was Taken. We appreciate the review. And Chris, they mentioned both of our shows. So I think there's probably a good chance they're talking about the Paid Search Podcast and the Rothman PPC Water Cooler on YouTube. But there's a small chance they're talking about the Q&A show on that we used to do. And just to let everybody know, the Q&A show has been on a hiatus. And it might be back someday. Right, Chris?
Yeah, maybe. You know, we try and deliver free content to you guys consistently every week. We don't ask for anything, and we want to make sure we can continue doing that. So sometimes we have to take a break from other responsibilities, but appreciate you guys being patient with that. Uh-oh, you know what that sound means? That means we have our news segment of the day with our anchor and host, Jason Rothman.
Yes, Chris, thank you for that news and good evening. All right, I can't even do that. But Chris, I've got some great news. This is pretty cool. This is going to blow your socks off. And here's how it goes down. So I get remarketed to from some large digital marketing agencies because I read their blogs and then I get remarketed to, and it kind of I look up to them. So I was getting remarketed from one of them in a bunch of like video ads, and I've seen their video ads before, but I started seeing them way more. And at first I was like, okay, they're doing a lot of YouTube advertising. That's impressive. And then I started seeing them so much, I was like, this kind of feels like remarketing. So that was going on. And then at the same time, totally separate, I'm going in there setting up a remarketing campaign for us, Chris, for the Paid Search Podcast. And I was setting up ads, and then it gave me an option to put a YouTube video in the remarketing display ad. Just a regular, I wasn't in a YouTube campaign, I was in regular remarketing display. So what they have come up with on display campaigns are display, and this is the magic word that Google likes these days for ads, responsive. They came up with display responsive ads, just like they've come up with search responsive ads. And one of the things you can do in these display responsive ads is they have a little YouTube search thing, and you can search for your video on YouTube and then add in your video ad into that responsive remarketing ad. And basically what they're saying is, hey, we're going to show the text of this remarketing ad, the images you show to your remarketing audiences, but we're also going to show them your video. And to me, this is amazing because it's always been something I wanted to do a remarketing campaign with videos, but it's always one of those things like, all right, I want to do this, but I don't really know if I want to take the time to set this up and then monitor it and all that. This is awesome because it's easy in one place, and all I have to do is just punch in the video link, and my campaign's already set up because it's my regular remarketing campaign, my budget's set up, and I love it. So this is something that I think is brand new. We're going to share a link where Google talks about this on their help, but I just wanted to share this in the news section and let everybody know about this because I think this is pretty cool.
So, Jason, we have a question today from Mo.
Speaking of Q&As, we are doing Q&As here on the Paid Search Podcast as well, and we are going to listen to a question right now.
Hi, guys. This is Mo. I want to find out, is there a way to reduce my bid amount or not even show my ads to somebody who just clicked on my ad? My thinking is, even if this is a legitimate customer, I don't want to be paying them for several clicks if they're just, doing some searches and, clicking on my ads 4, 5, 6 times. Thank you.
Okay. Well, hey, I got to say, hey, Mo. Mo is a friend of mine all the way up in New York City, a place that I don't know if I'll ever go. It's terrifying to me, but I talk to Mo all the time. So thanks for the question. And I'm going to jump in and say there's absolutely a way to do this. And Jason, you might have some conflicting views, but Mo's a smart guy, and this is what he's decided he wants to do. And the way to do it is essentially add an audience at the observation level to your search campaign and add specifically your remarketing audience. Okay, so you're going to be at this campaign level, click on your campaign, click on the audiences button, and then you want to add an audience and make sure it's an observation level. There's a radio button for targeted or observation. Make sure it's observation. And once you've done that, choose your remarketing list and you can bid it 50% up, which would make your bids go higher when someone has searched your keyword and is on your remarketing list. And you could bid negative 100. And it would ensure that anyone that searches one of your keywords would not see one of your ads. It essentially would turn off any remarketing list for returning visitors on Google search. So definitely a way to do it. I don't know that I completely agree with this strategy, but everybody has reasons for doing certain things.
Yeah, that's right, Chris. And for Mo and everyone out there, I have a video on my YouTube channel where I show you how to add an audience. So I will link to that in the show notes so you guys can see that. And Chris, with that, we can get back to Big Daddy's Senior Living. Big Daddy JR Senior Living.
Yeah.
And today, Chris, last week we went over the strategies or we went over just how to learn about what's important when you are a business owner or a client and you're trying to come up with what you want to be targeting. But today we're going to show people how to take that information and actually turn it into a list of campaigns. And everyone knows we don't have a good relationship. We don't talk off the air, strictly business here. So we're talking the first time about these campaigns.
Right.
And people are going to hear us kind of brainstorm together live on the air what that looks like. But Chris, why don't you first just for a couple minutes, give us a recap of what it was like to talk to Big Daddy JR and what you learned from the call.
Right. So what we learned from this very ambitious client is that he has 5 locations, Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, Austin, San Antonio, all in the wonderful state of Texas. And each of these locations has multiple services. It's not entirely clear which ones do have all of them, which ones don't, but basically they're going to consist of nursing home services, assisted living services, and senior living services, which is premium condos and a community for people that are 50 and over, things like that. And then also in-home care, which is a type of nursing service, a professional nursing service. So very extensive. Mr. Big Daddy JR has wide expectations. And so we need to make the best use we can of this $3,000 a month budget. We're talking $100 a day to cover 5 cities. So we're going to need to be, this is not the kind of thing where we're going to list 600 keywords, right? We're going to put into practice what we yelled about, about a month ago about, doing SCAGs. This would be ridiculous with a SCAGs campaign because we'd have thousands of keywords and it would just overwhelm the budget. We'd have no control on what we'd be able to get. So we're going to need to build this very carefully so that we can get the right kind of traffic and not blow everything out in the first 2 hours of the day.
So we talked about the services, we talked about the locations, and we've got to put that into campaigns now, but we also need to consider the goals. We're focusing on lead forms. That's pretty straightforward. And we are also wanting to brand build. So just before we get to the locations and that discussion, let's talk about brand. I had said that I wanted to brand build with search campaigns, even though that might not be the favorite Chris Schaefer activity. Big Daddy JR is big on it, and he's willing to put his money where his mouth is. So we're going to do a big brand search campaign. And we're also wanting a YouTube campaign, and we're also wanting a remarketing campaign if it's possible in this space. So I'm just going to mark down those three, Chris, and brand is kind of its own thing, and remarketing is its own thing, and YouTube's its own thing. We'll talk about those on their own episode. But the thing we always want to note when we talk about it, branding is specifically to build a brand with millennials because they have baby boomer parents. Baby boomer parents are getting older and moving into my kind of facilities. And that is the point of the brand building. So those are the brand campaigns as we move on in the future. But what are you thinking in terms of services and locations? Kind of let everybody know the two different ways people could go at this point.
Yeah. So I don't really even want to cover any other way other than what I would suggest, because I think that's superior. I think the best method is going to be to create a new campaign for each location. I think that is the safest way to go about it. The reason I suggest that is because we're working with a $3,000 monthly budget. So it's already splitting our budget down quite a bit per location. If I were to break it out by service, by location, we're looking at like 25 different campaigns, something like that.
Yeah, because just so everyone knows, some people would get into this, talk with this client and then go, okay, we're going to build you a Dallas nursing home campaign, a Fort Worth nursing home campaign, a Houston nursing home, on, and then a Dallas assisted living, a Houston assisted living, and then a Dallas senior living, a Dallas in-home care, and kind of do one location, one service for each campaign. Why do you not think we should do that?
At this point, I think that what we're looking at is limitations on budgets no matter what we do. Unless the client specifically said, I want 80% of my spend to be on nursing home, and then I want the rest of the 20% for each location to be on assisted living, senior living, and in-home care. Unless they gave me a designation about the way they want it spent, I'm going to throw everything into one campaign because I know I'm going to have spending issues no matter what. I'm going to be limited by budget. So I'd rather put everything into one place. It's easier to manage. It's condensed. I can manage the spend per location without having conflicting issues on settings and things like that.
So you like one campaign called Dallas, and then within that, we're going to target nursing home, assisted living, senior living,
yes,
in-home care, and then one campaign called Fort Worth, targeting those four services, and so on. One campaign per location. And we were brainstorming before the episode, and I came to the same conclusion. I told you, okay, I could see how someone could zig where we zag, and they could go, okay, I want a campaign for Dallas Nursing Home, Fort Worth Nursing Home, and on and on. And yes, if you're having a debate club, in theory, that's fine. But in reality, when we're talking about this limited budget, when we're talking about limited time and actually getting up and running, before you even know how many searches there are for these things in each location, I also like the one location per campaign idea and then targeting the services in there. Here's why, Chris. If anything pops, if the client says, oh, I want way more nursing home in Dallas, or what's my search impression share of assisted living in Houston, we can get that data. And then if we want to, we can just copy and paste those campaigns very easily in the account or an editor. And if we need to, we can break out assisted living in Houston into its own assisted living Houston campaign later on, once we actually have a reason to do that, once we're actually getting data. So I'm in agreement with you. I think there's just one more campaign we need. Big Daddy JR talked about how he wanted not only people in these 5 metros, he wanted people all around the country searching about these 5 metros. So later in this episode, when we get to the location settings, we'll talk about how you can turn on people in or searching about the city of Austin or the Austin metro with nursing homes. So if you're sitting in New York City and you search Austin nursing home, we'll show up. But what you won't show up, and what Big Daddy JR wants, is he wants people searching for Texas, because he runs businesses in the 5 biggest cities in Texas. If someone's sitting in New York and they search Texas nursing homes, there's a very good chance they're going to want a nursing home in one of those 5 cities. Since we're not targeting Texas, people in or searching about won't catch the search nursing home Texas. So I also think we need a national Texas campaign. Yeah. That's what we'll call it. So national Texas. So Chris, a lot of people are probably at the gym, lying in bed with their spouse, on their way to work, however, people taking the PSP and they're going, whoa, 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 I thought you guys were the experts. That's all it takes to come up with the campaign list? Yeah, that's all it takes, right, Chris? I mean, Chris, it sounds so simple, but kind of let people in on the secret.
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't listened to the show very long, it might be surprising that this is not some kind of thing where we need a spreadsheet to lay it all out. Simplicity is usually the best way to get started. We just talked about that on our episode where we did the junk removal audit before and after. Jason so willingly gave us the results from a search campaign before and then after. When we look at the search terms, and what did he do? Jason, I think you had 2 keywords or 1 keyword or something. I mean, it's just so simple. It's ridiculous how simple the process was, but it worked. It was clean. So the same idea applies at the campaign level. Just like Jason said, let's say we're 3 weeks in and Big Daddy JR finds out that we're at 20% search impression share for all these campaigns. And he says, okay, we're going to need to make some adjustments. I want to push assisted living and pull everything back down. We can copy those campaigns and do a assisted living only, or we could just pause the ad groups in there. All this can still be adjusted. You do not have to have separate campaigns for each. And I'll say, this is the rule of thumb that I go by. The only reason to create new campaigns is based on location and budget. That's going to cover 90% of the times that you need to create a new campaign, is because you need to target a different location, or you need to control the budget separately from another location or service or product or something like that. That's going to capture most of the times. The other 10% should be exceptions to the rule. They do not define the rule themselves.
And Chris, you mentioned simplicity, and it is simplicity, but it's also kind of like simplicity with options to grow. So you and I just do it naturally at this point. But what we're really trying to teach you guys with this brainstorming episode of how we come up with campaigns is that we went as simple as possible with the option to grow on and build.
Yep.
So we didn't just create one campaign and one ad group and throw in nursing home keywords and senior living keywords and in-home care keywords all together. That's what a lot of people would do. But what we did is we kind of thought into the future, and we thought, okay, we got to have this brand campaign separate. That's fine. And then we thought into the future and we go, okay, the minimal amount of work it takes to have one campaign in Dallas versus one campaign in Fort Worth for each city, just copying and pasting and changing the locations, okay, that's worth the complexity because it's so easy and it sets us up nicely in different markets. And then with having the topics listed as, and we'll get to this, but having the topics, all the topics covered, all the services covered in each location in one campaign, that's simple, but we have the option to grow because all it takes from here is a copy and paste, and we have the same campaign set up, but we can play around with what ad groups are in there. So we went simple, but Chris and I are always thinking about what the future could hold in terms of anticipating where the client would want to go, giving the client options, and those kind of things. So we went simple, but we went simple with the opportunity to build in the future very easily.
Okay, so let's get practical. Let's get into how this is done instead of talking theoretical. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to walk you guys through setting up a new campaign, because a couple of years ago when we did this, it looked a lot different. Okay, and we want to take this even a step further. And in the coming weeks, we are going to have some companion videos on YouTube for free for you to go watch our screen. For the first time ever, we're going to share our screens and show what we're doing and kind of give an overview of what this looks like so you can follow along a little more easily. But for now, enjoy the audio version of that. So we're going to create a brand new campaign. Go to the campaigns tab, click the blue plus button, and you're presented with the screen with a lot of goals. I'll tell you, the first thing I do is I click create a campaign without a goal. I don't want any of the goals, and the reason for my preference on that is because when you click sales or leads or website traffic, it can limit your possibilities on the types of ads that you can create or the types of things that you can use in the campaign. So if you want all the options on the table, you want to be able to see everything without any limitations, that's why we recommend using a campaign without goal guidance. Then click on search, And I'll tell you, I used to hate the next step. It forces you to type in the website visits and, type in the URL, the website. What I'm going to suggest is just hit continue. I didn't even know that you could do this, but you can.
I didn't know you could do it.
Yeah, I figured it out like a couple of weeks ago. You can just hit continue and skip that whole thing about putting a phone number or a website in, and it just creates it for you. So it's wonderful.
Okay, I'm following along.
Yeah, and then we're on the next page, and the first thing you do, don't even worry about renaming it. Doesn't matter. Uncheck display network, right? That's going to be important. And
don't miss the opportunity to reach more people across 3 million sites and apps.
Thank you.
Chris, that sounds like a hard sell to me. Why would the great Chris Schaefer say no?
Oh, right. Okay, that's a good point. Let's go into it for a second. My thoughts on this is different networks, different campaigns. You cannot control the display network as effectively in a blended network search campaign where you have search and display together in the same way that you could for a only display campaign. So if you want to do display, go for it. I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm saying that it's not a good idea to blend both of them. You want to be able to measure the impact of each one of them separately, measure the spend, control the bids, and to do that, create 2 different campaigns for each network.
Okay, I'll buy what you're selling.
Oh, okay.
Let me ask you, search network checked include Google search partners. What are your thoughts on that today? Are you still including it by default?
I do, unless we're creating just like you talked about over a year ago, unless I'm creating a call-only campaign, call-only search campaign, I'm going to leave that on. That's my thoughts. I don't typically turn it off unless very particular issue. If we're having some major issues with budget and I just really need to tighten up on things, that's one of the other 50 things I might do to limit the campaign. But overall, okay. I like it.
Cool. So I'll take us through the next section here, Chris. Show more settings. That's a little drop down. Start and end date. I don't think you and I usually touch that. Campaign URL options. I guess that's tracking parameters and stuff more than we need to say on this episode. Dynamic search ads. Chris?
Don't touch it.
Are you touching that?
No.
It looks so nice. Like, we'll make ads based on your site, I guess is what the what the thing is. But I never have touched that in my career. I always make the ads myself.
I've seen it. I've never used it, but I've seen other clients use it. And let me explain the simplest way to explain how this works is this. You know how the shopping campaigns use your feed and looks at your product titles, product description, all that kind of stuff to determine what types of searches you should show up for? That's the same way that your dynamic search ads work. It looks at your website, looks at your landing page, and decides, oh, you're selling shoes. I'm going to get you traffic for shoes. There is no ability to control the traffic. Everything we've ever talked about, choosing keywords, precision targeting on match type, stuff like that, that's all out the window. It's not happening.
Okay. So we'll leave the show more settings. We'll go to hide more settings, and we'll leave that alone.
Yeah.
Now we go to locations. And so, Chris, let's pretend this is the Dallas campaign. And instead of entering a location or target or exclude, I'm going to hit advanced search.
Yeah.
And when you hit advanced search, it opens up the map. Then I'm going to hit radius. And the default there is set to 20 miles. I'm going to go ahead and just type in Dallas, and it gives me a recommendation of Dallas, Texas. And I'm going to click on that and see what 20 miles looks like. 20 miles looks nice. The thing is, I want to go a lot larger here. So we're going to have to talk about this on YouTube videos because Fort Worth is right next to Dallas. And with Dallas, I want that whole metro area. So I'm talking up to Sherman, Texas. You'll be familiar with that, Chris. Mm-hmm. Down to maybe Hillsboro, going out east to Canton and Commerce in the Northeast. So I'm on a big Dallas campaign. And Fort Worth, I want Fort Worth, Weatherford, Granbury, Decatur. We'll do this on YouTube videos. But to start, I think just having 20 miles around Dallas is a good start. And then we will, on the YouTube videos, talk about how we can pick out all the places in the north and the east to go in the Dallas campaign, and then all the places to the west and north and south to go into Fort Worth. But for now, just to make it easy, I'll put in 20 miles around Dallas. Location options. This is a little bit rare for you and I, Chris. I want people in or who show interest in your targeted location. You and I commonly do only people in your target location to lock that traffic down to the highest quality. And because a lot of our businesses, they want people in the area. Or if Chris, he works with a lot of B2B companies that target the US, he wants only people in the United States. But since we want people who are searching about Dallas, we're going to do people in or who show interest in your target location. And now we need to talk about excluded locations. So since we're going to do people in or searching about Dallas, I want people only in the United States who are searching in or about. So we have a strategy where you literally go around and exclude every country on one campaign. I've done it before. It doesn't take that long. It's called the world, Chris. It's called other countries. It's called the geography bee. It's called I got first place when I was in third grade. It's called That's a Lie. It's called No One's Fact Checking This Podcast. It's called I Feel Bad for Lying. It's called People in or who show interest in your excluded location or people in your excluded location. So what we will end up doing on a YouTube video is targeting Dallas, but then we're going to do excluded locations of Canada, Mexico, and every country in the world. And then what that'll do is it'll say, okay, that equates to only people in the United States who are searching about Dallas can possibly see the ad. So it takes a few minutes to set up, but once you do that, you can copy and paste that in the editor, which we'll show you on YouTube, to each campaign. So I'm going to go ahead and just do exclude people in or who show interest in your excluded locations. That's fine. Language, English is good. But you know what, Chris? You and I, in a previous episode, we said we like all languages, because if someone is typing in nursing home Dallas, no matter what their browser is set to, that means they know English because they're typing in nursing home Dallas. So do you agree we should do all languages?
Well,
or do you think we should set to English browsers because of this? You're so scared of spending my $3,000.
Yeah, when it comes to everything JR's talked about, yeah, I'm a little worried. Okay. So I would go with English only because I'm concerned about this huge radius and stuff like that. But that's my thoughts.
Okay, we'll do English. Audiences we'll get to on another episode. Chris, break down bidding, break down budgets, break down budget delivery method.
Yeah. Okay. So for budget, we're going to go into that a little bit more, but assuming there are 5 search campaigns, it might be about $20 a day per campaign, but I know we also have a remarketing campaign. So we're going to have to fudge that a little bit and figure out something that's going to work. One thing that you can definitely consider is a shared budget between each of the search campaigns. If you don't know which one's going to spend the most, you just want to make sure the money spends, create a shared budget and apply it to all of the search campaigns. That way you have a $100 pool for everything to use, and then you can just go from there. So that's an easy way to make sure there's no unspent money going from day to day if there's additional budget that can be used and there's enough impressions out there to cover. Delivery method, I'm absolutely going to say standard based on this build. Standard because we're going to need to space our impressions out over time. Accelerated would be good if I'm concerned about getting enough volume. If I don't think there's going to be enough volume out there and I want to just go as fast as I can and catch every single one, then accelerated would be good, but that's not the case for this one. Moving into bidding, it's gotten so different now. It's like a trick. I've had people ask me, like, how do I get manual? I don't see manual. All I see is conversions and clicks and impression share. You have to go down a little bit and click select a bid strategy directly. Okay. Then it brings up another drop down that you have to go all the way past all these tempting things that say target outranking share and search page location and enhanced CPC. It's all a trick. Go straight all the way down to manual CPC. It's hilarious to me because there's automated bid strategies, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 8. And then manual bid strategies, there's 1. So,
and then Chris, go ahead and select it and then look at the yellow warning symbol that comes up. Setting bids manually may lower performance. Use automated bidding to help improve results.
Did you just make a mistake? You clicked the wrong button. I'm sorry. You need to go back.
It was interesting watching you work there because you did not pause for half a second when you thought about bid strategy. You didn't even consider automated bid strategies.
No.
You just went straight to manual. This week, I had a Google employee reach out to me about some large accounts and said, "Hey, Jason, we think it's time to do target CPA bidding." And I was, and I had to email them back, and I said, "Look, it's just like manual's working really good for these clients right now, and these are some big campaigns, and I like the ability that I can control things, react to things, and manage and be in control and be able to react to what I see. And it's working well." So I told them, I'm kind of looking at target CPA as kind of like a last resort, like things aren't working and we need to try something. And Chris, just the way this system is set up right now, where you have to find manual CPC and they don't encourage it.
Yeah.
Like every week I'm struggling with this because there's so many signals being sent to me from Google that are telling me that automated bid strategies work and they're awesome and you can never even compete with them with manual. But then when I try them, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they work for a limited amount of time and then stop working. Sometimes they never work. Sometimes they work for a long time, and that's fine. But on some of my accounts, Chris, I can't afford to have a bad day.
Yeah.
Like clients expect consistency. And so I think we're just at the point where you and I are married to manual CPC. Maybe one day machine learning, automated bidding, it'll get so good that just overnight you and I will seem so outdated and things won't, like, it'll have caught up. But I'm still at the point where I'm doing manual bids for basically everything.
Yeah.
And I look at automated as a backup strategy if I need help. So that's where we're at. But another thing that's funny is now you have to click show more settings to get to the schedule. And now we talked about how Big Daddy JR, he wants leads. He wants leads coming in. Chris, we only have $3,000 to work with. We want leads, so that would open yourself to 24/7. But here's the thing I'm going to tell you about my business, Big Daddy JR's business. I've got great employees, but they don't work on the weekends.
Right.
And so if I get a lead coming in on Saturday afternoon, no one's going to get to that for 48 hours or so till Monday. And I don't want that just sitting there. And since we have a limited budget for how big we're going, I've listened to the great Chris Schaefer that I've hired. I'm going to take that mindset about making the most of the budget we have. And I'm going to say Monday through Friday all day, because then at least if someone happens to be online on the East Coast at 11 p.m. or something, we can get to them the following morning.
Yeah.
But if something comes in on Saturday, Sunday, it might be a little slower. So let's just start with Monday through Friday all day, because it is about leads. And then ad rotation, I'm just going to leaving it on optimized. There's no need to do rotate ads indefinitely at this point. And Chris, that takes us to ad extensions, where we'll close. Definitely going to throw in the call extension because that can apply to every campaign. I'm going to go ahead and throw in some site links and call outs right now, but I'm going to keep in mind that we might be making ad group level call outs and ad group level site links. So the site links and call outs I do use at the campaign level, I'm going to make sure they're generic to every service and they just talk about my overall business. So they're okay to show up on any keyword, any search, but we could get better ones that we'll add at the ad group level. So I'm not going to add like nursing home specialists in this one because that will go in the nursing home ad group. But I could add like in business since 1990. I could add serving over 3,000 seniors. I could add serving the entire state of Texas or serving the entire U.S., something like that, something that can apply to the whole business no matter what someone searches for. And from this point, Chris, I'm going to hit save and continue. And I think that's where we'll break off today's episode.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, good stuff. I looking forward to diving on this one. Again, the point of all of this is for you guys to hear the way we think about building at the campaign level, at the ad group level, at the keyword level, and beyond. So want to say thanks to Optio, who sponsors this episode, sponsored us for a while now, and they are offering us a 6-week extended trial at opteo.com/PSP. Look for the chat box on the right side of the page. It will mention that, hey, we have a special offer for you specifically because you're a listener of the show. Let them know that you appreciate sponsoring your two favorite guys who give you so much wonderful free advice. And of course,
we want to also thank Directive Consulting. Directive Consulting is our recommended agency for B2B enterprise companies who are looking for pay-per-click search engine marketing, SEO, landing pages. The way Directive does it is they do it all. They look at what your business needs. They come up with solutions based on all their capabilities, and they get you leads. They have a lot of great case studies on their website, and they offer a custom proposal. So we recommend you guys check out their case studies, directiveconsulting.com. And we also recommend you get a custom proposal from Directive Consulting, directiveconsulting.com, and we will have links to both companies in the show description. Chris, I just want to finish up here with the PSP Insider. We did a great episode last week that came out this week. We talked about how to get local clients. We're getting good feedback on it. And listening back to the episode, we went deep. If someone is wanting to start their career out there, I am extremely confident that if you listen to that episode, you will very quickly be able to get local clients, start getting that revenue, and be able to launch a freelancer career or agency. So we'll have a link to the PSP Insider, and you can find all that information at paidsearchpodcast.com. We will have YouTube videos coming out in the coming weeks as companions to these episodes to show you guys in real time what things look like when you're building out these campaigns. And we'll be back next week to talk about the keyword research and ad group creation, a crucial part of a build for Big Daddy JR Senior Living. So we thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week on the Paid Search Podcast.